What happens when a hardworking nurse crosses paths with the billionaire CEO she once loved and the father of the child he never knew existed? Ariana Fields thought she left the past behind, but one encounter sets off a chain of secrets, danger, and undeniable passion. From a mysterious donor to a heartbreaking illness and a powerful mother's cruel ultimatum, Ariana must fight for her daughter, her truth, and a second chance at love. Who is behind the threats? And will Jackson Reed risk everything for the family he never knew he had? Where are you watching from? Don't forget to subscribe for more unforgettable stories. The Dallas summer heat wrapped the city in a heavy electric hush. Inside Roswell General Hospital, the air conditioning barely kept up, and Ariana Fields could feel the warmth clinging to her skin beneath her navy scrubs. It was close to midnight, the ER finally beginning to quiet, but she was still at her station, eyes bleary from hours of paperwork. Ariana pushed her glasses up the bridge of her nose and sighed. She should have been home hours ago, tucking Lena into bed, reading the third story her daughter always begged for. "Fields," called out Miss Robbins, the senior nurse with a voice like gravel and heart like gold. Ariana turned. "I need a favor, hun. Report for the new CEO's board meeting is still sitting here. Elevator's working now. Take it to the 24th floor." Ariana's stomach flipped. "The 24th?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Can't someone else?" "You're the only one left, sugar. It's a drop-off. He probably won't even be there." Ariana took the manila folder with a tight smile, her fingers brushing against the polished paper like it might bite her. She hated upper floors, polished suits, cold voices, the weight of wealth pressing down like judgment. But she couldn't say no, not with hospital bills breathing down her neck and Lena's medication costs looming. The elevator dinged and she stepped in, the space too bright, too quiet. Each floor ticked by like a countdown. By the time she reached 24, her heart was thudding a little too hard. The doors slid open to reveal a space unlike any she'd worked in. Marble floors, recessed lighting, the faint scent of cedar and leather. She walked past the empty receptionist desk, sneakers squeaking slightly, until she reached a door marked Jackson Reed, Chief Executive Officer. She hesitated, her hand hovered near the handle, then knocked. Once, twice, no answer. Maybe he wasn't here. She pushed the door open. The office was dimly lit, a single desk lamp casting long shadows over the mahogany furniture. A laptop sat closed, papers stacked with eerie precision. But then she heard it, a faint sound from a door slightly ajar on the right. "Hello?" she called, her voice barely above a whisper. No response. Her nurse instincts kicked in. Maybe someone forgot to turn off the light. She edged forward, pushing the inner door open gently. Then she froze. There, standing shirtless in a sleek private gym, was Jackson Reed. His back was to her, muscles rippling as he tugged a fresh shirt over his head. His dark hair was damp with sweat, curling slightly at the nape. His jeans rode low on his hips, and the sight of him hit her like a thunderclap to the chest. Memories crashed into her. His touch on her skin, late-night kisses in a tiny college apartment, the sound of his laugh when she teased him about his crooked front tooth, the love they shared, the pain that followed. She stumbled back, the folder slipping from her hands and smacking the floor with a loud thud. Jackson turned sharply, his hazel eyes locked onto hers. Time stopped. "Ariana?" He breathed like he'd seen a ghost. Her throat tightened. She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. All she wanted was to run. But he stepped forward, shirt half on, confusion and something deeper, something wounded flickering across his face. "Is that really you?" he whispered. She shook her head, panic rising. "You're mistaken," she managed, her voice barely convincing. Then she turned, yanked open the door, and fled, her sneakers squeaking like alarms. Down the stairs she went, heart in her throat, breath ragged. She didn't stop until she reached the ER, her back pressed to the cold concrete wall. What was he doing here? In her hospital? In her life? She'd changed everything, her name, her hair, her whole world, to keep that chapter buried. But one look, one whispered Ariana, and it was all unraveling. And he didn't know. He didn't know about Lena. The hum of fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Ariana Fields sat by Lena's hospital bed, her fingers gently stroking her daughter's damp curls. The pediatric wing was quieter now, wrapped in the muted stillness that came after visiting hours, but Ariana couldn't shake the anxiety pressing on her chest. Lena, only 5 years old, lay still beneath crisp white sheets, her tiny body radiating heat. The fever hadn't broken. Ariana had seen hundreds of sick kids in her years as a nurse, but this was different. This was her little girl. Dr. Bell had ordered more blood work, frowning at the irregularities in Lena's earlier tests. HLH was whispered but not confirmed, the words alone enough to send icy dread spiraling through Ariana's gut. She clutched Lena's stuffed elephant tighter, whispering soft reassurances even as her own voice shook. "You're okay, baby. Mama's got you." Back in the ER lounge, Ariana paced the floor, her mind racing. The bills were piling up. Rent, utilities, and now more tests. Her mother's cancer treatments hadn't stopped draining her savings either. Every paycheck disappeared before it hit the account. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Check your mailbox." Her stomach dropped. She slipped out, headed toward the nurse's station where the staff mail slots were lined up like confessionals. Inside hers, she found a familiar envelope, cream-colored, no return address, the handwriting impossibly neat. Mr. Ember. Her hands trembled as she opened it, pulling out the single sheet inside. "Stay strong. The next payment will arrive by Friday. Your daughter needs you focused, not worried. Always in your corner, E." She stared at the letter, heart hammering. For nearly 2 years now, Mr. Ember had been sending her monthly checks, just enough to cover her mother's chemo, never enough to make her suspicious of the source. Until now. Her thoughts snapped back to Jackson, his voice, his eyes, the way he'd said her name like it still meant something. Could it be him? No. That was impossible. He didn't even know about Lena. And if he had known, he wouldn't have let them struggle like this, right? But the timing. The first payment had come only weeks after she applied for emergency assistance under her full name. A name only a few people knew she was using again. And the handwriting, though formal and slanted, had that same curved E she remembered from notes Jackson used to scribble on napkins in college. The idea lodged itself in her mind, refusing to budge. Across town, in his private apartment overlooking downtown Dallas, Jackson Reed was sitting at his desk, fingers drumming on the glass surface. Lena Fields. The name had been circling his mind all day. He had searched Ariana's employee file earlier, under the guise of assigning her to a new patient care project. It had been sparse. No emergency contact listed, no father on file for the child, but something didn't add up. He'd asked a trusted lab technician to quietly pull Lena's medical records. Blood work, allergies, routine tests, nothing invasive. He told himself it wasn't an invasion of privacy, it was necessity. If Lena was his daughter, Jackson pushed the thought away before it consumed him. He had been young, stupid in love, and then shattered when Ariana vanished. No note. No closure. Just the crushing silence of abandonment and his mother's smug insistence that it was for the best. He hadn't believed her. Not fully. And now she was here, in his hospital, avoiding his eyes like he was poison. Back in the pediatric wing, Ariana returned to Lena's bedside, her body aching with exhaustion. She slipped the envelope from Mr. Ember into her coat pocket, her mind still churning. If Jackson was Mr. Ember, why hide it? Why help her in the shadows? Unless he knew more than he let on, unless he'd known all along. She leaned down to kiss Lena's forehead, whispering a soft lullaby, her voice cracking. Something was coming. She could feel it in her bones. And she wasn't ready. Rain drizzled against the windows of Roswell General, streaking the glass with soft trails as Ariana Fields sat stiffly across from Jackson Reed in his corner office. The hum of city life buzzed far below, but up here, it felt like a different world, one of glass, polished wood, and quiet power. Jackson's suit jacket hung on the back of his chair, sleeves rolled up, a tension in his frame that hadn't been there 6 years ago. Ariana held the letters in her hand, the ones from Mr. Ember, her grip tight enough to crease the pages. "You wrote these, didn't you?" she asked, her voice low but steady. Jackson's expression faltered for the first time since she'd walked in. He didn't deny it. Instead, he looked at her with eyes too honest, too raw. "Yes," he said simply. The truth slammed into her chest. Her suspicions were right. He had been there the entire time, watching, helping, but from the shadows. "Why?" she demanded, voice shaking now, not with fear but anger. "Why would you do this? Pay for my mom's treatments, send me these cryptic notes, and never once tell me it was you?" "Because I couldn't lose you again," he said, stepping around the desk. Because I didn't know how to reach you without scaring you off. You don't get to act like some silent savior, she snapped. You don't get to rewrite what happened. He flinched. I know. I thought I was doing what you needed. What I needed was honesty, she said bitterly. Silence stretched between them until it became too loud. And then, like an elastic band stretched too tight, it snapped. The air shifted. He stepped closer, not touching her, just close enough that she could smell the familiar scent of cedar and something faintly spicy. She hated that it still stirred something in her, a warmth, a longing she'd buried for years. Tell me you don't feel it too, he whispered. Ariana didn't answer. She couldn't. Her walls were already cracking, the look in his eyes too much. So when he kissed her, softly at first like a question, she didn't pull away. But the kiss deepened, urgent, laced with years of pain and what-ifs. Her hands found his chest, his heart thundering beneath her fingers, and for a moment she forgot everything. The bills, the hospital, the fear, until reality crashed in. She pushed him back, breathless. No, she said. This was a mistake. He opened his mouth to argue, but her phone buzzed on the desk between them. She glanced at the screen, and her blood ran cold. Unknown number. Stay away from Jackson Reed or your daughter's next. Her fingers trembled as she read it again, her stomach twisting into knots. She didn't answer. She couldn't. She shoved the phone in her pocket and bolted from the office, the door slamming behind her. She ran straight to the pediatric floor. But Lena's bed was empty. Panic seized her lungs. The IV line dangled uselessly. A nurse nearby stammered that she'd just stepped out for a chart, that Lena had been asleep. Ariana didn't wait. She tore through every room, every hallway, her voice echoing. Lena, Lena. Security footage showed a woman, face obscured by a scarf, leaving through the back exit with a small child in her arms. Ariana's knees buckled when she saw the tiny curls, the familiar blanket. That's her, she whispered. Jackson found her in the parking lot, rain soaking them both, his voice cutting through the chaos. What happened? She spun on him, fury and terror colliding. She's gone. Because of you, they warned me and I didn't listen. He went pale but didn't waver. Then we'll find her. Together. She wanted to scream, to blame, to run, but she nodded. They split up, Jackson toward the main road, Ariana toward the alleys behind the hospital. Her heart pounded with every step. Then she heard it, a faint cry. She followed the sound to an abandoned warehouse, the door ajar, the air inside thick with mildew and fear. Lena, she called. A whimper answered. She ran. In a corner, her daughter curled up, shivering, eyes wide with terror. Ariana fell to her knees, pulling her close, tears soaking both their faces. Mama's here. I've got you. Jackson arrived moments later, soaked and breathless. He didn't touch them. Just looked at Lena like she was the most fragile thing in the world. Is she okay? He asked. Ariana nodded, voice barely above a whisper. But someone did this, Jackson. Someone who knows us. And she had a sinking feeling it wasn't over. The morning after Lena's rescue, Ariana stood in the pediatric ward's hallway, her arms folded tightly over her chest. The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly above her, but all she could hear was the echo of that threatening text and the memory of finding her daughter cold, trembling, and alone. Lena was safe now, resting with a fever under watchful care, but the fear still wrapped Ariana's body like a second skin. Someone had taken her baby, and Ariana had no doubt it had everything to do with Jackson Reed. Kyra had been the one to tell her, quietly, in the break room while slipping her a fresh cup of coffee. Elise, she said simply, eyes narrowing. I overheard her arguing on the phone. Something about a screw-up, the nurse not staying gone. She was talking about you. Elise? Ariana asked, blinking. You're sure? Kyra nodded grimly. She has access, motive, and a twisted reason to get rid of you. She saw you and Jackson together, didn't she? Ariana's stomach turned. Elise Crawford, Jackson's fiancée. The picture-perfect socialite with icy blue eyes and a smile that never reached them. She'd been in the hospital just days before, playing the supportive partner. Now it all made sense. Jackson confronted Elise that same evening. She denied it at first, her voice dripping with practiced innocence. You really think I'd endanger a child? That I'd stoop that low? I don't think, Jackson said, voice like steel. I know. The security footage, the altered test results, the burner phone, all of it leads to you. Her expression cracked, just for a second. You left me, she snapped, for a nurse, for some kid who might not even be yours. Jackson stepped forward, calm but terrifying. You'll never get near them again. And after what you've done, you'll be lucky to stay out of prison. Later that night, Veronica Reed, his mother, showed up at the hospital. She wore pearls and a tailored coat like armor, her steps echoing off the tile as she cornered Ariana in the staff cafeteria. "Miss Fields," she said, her voice sharp as glass, "we need to talk." Ariana stood, spine straightening. "If this is about Jackson, don't waste your breath." "This is about your daughter," Veronica replied, setting a sleek envelope on the table. "I'll cover her medical expenses, every last cent, but only if you leave Jackson, again." Quietly. Anger flared through Ariana so fast her vision blurred. "You think I'll let you buy me off again?" she hissed. "Threaten my child like you did 6 years ago?" "I'm protecting my son's future," Veronica said coldly. "He's on the board of the largest medical foundation in the state. You and your daughter don't belong in that picture." Ariana stepped closer, voice low and fierce. "You're right, we don't, but he already chose us. And this time, I won't walk away." The next day, Jackson called an emergency meeting with the board. He stood at the head of the long table, flanked by nervous executives and stern-faced directors. Veronica sat at the far end, stiff as stone. "I'm stepping away from the Reed Foundation," Jackson announced. "Effective immediately. I'm investing in something that actually matters: truth, care, family. And I won't let corruption or personal bias poison this hospital again." A ripple of gasps moved through the room. He didn't flinch. "And for the record," he added, locking eyes with Veronica, "Lena Fields is my daughter. Ariana Fields is the woman I love. Anyone who can't accept that can resign today." Veronica's face didn't change, but her silence said everything. That night, Ariana sat beside Lena's hospital bed, watching her daughter breathe evenly for the first time in days. Relief mingled with exhaustion, but the storm hadn't fully passed. They had survived a kidnapping, a cover-up, and a vendetta born of jealousy. But their fight wasn't over. Jackson entered quietly, taking Ariana's hand without a word. They didn't need one. They were in this now. For real. For Lena. And neither of them was walking away again. The operating room's double doors loomed behind the glass, sealed like a vault. Ariana stood on the other side, her hands pressed flat against the cold pane as she watched a team of masked surgeons gather around Lena's small, still body. Her daughter looked impossibly tiny beneath the sterile lights, her dark curls tucked under a surgical cap, her chest rising slowly with the rhythm of the ventilator. The bone marrow transplant had begun. Ariana whispered a silent prayer, her lips barely moving. She hadn't prayed in years, hadn't believed in anything but her own strength. But now, her knees threatened to buckle under the weight of fear. Her baby girl's life was hanging by a thread, and all she could do was wait. Jackson stood behind her, close but silent, his hand resting lightly on her back. He'd barely slept since the match was confirmed. A woman in Chicago, a stranger, had been the miracle they so desperately needed. Tasha and Darius had worked tirelessly, calling in every favor, scouring every registry until they found the donor no one else could. The last thing Lena had said before they wheeled her into surgery echoed in Ariana's mind. "Can Daddy hold my hand too?" She hadn't corrected her. She couldn't, not when her daughter's hope was all that mattered. They waited in the family room for 6 endless hours. Tasha stopped by with updates. Darius brought coffee that neither of them drank. Ariana fielded a call from her mother, Loretta, who was resting at home, recovering steadily. "Lena's a fighter, baby," Loretta had said, "just like her mama." When Dr. Bell finally entered, pulling off her mask and cap, Ariana stood so fast her chair tipped backward. "It went well," Kyra said, her smile tight with exhaustion but real. "Lena's stable, the graft took, now we wait and support her through recovery." Relief crashed through Ariana so fast she had to grip Jackson's arm to stay upright. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she let out a trembling breath. "She's okay? She's okay," Kyra confirmed, stepping forward to hug her. "You did it. She's safe." Jackson wrapped an arm around Ariana's shoulders, grounding her, anchoring her. "We did it," he whispered, his voice breaking. "She's ours, and she's going to be okay." Later, as Ariana sat beside Lena's bed, stroking her hand while monitors beeped in slow rhythm, Jackson knelt by her side, watching the rise and fall of their daughter's chest. "She called me Daddy," he said softly, wonder in his voice. "Do you think she knows?" Ariana nodded, wiping a tear from Lena's cheek. Kids always know, even when we try to shield them. Jackson pulled a folder from under his arm and handed it to her. The DNA test came back. She's mine, officially. Ariana stared at the paper, heart in her throat. Though she'd always known, seeing it in writing made everything more real and terrifying. I'm sorry, she whispered. I lied. I was scared of your mother, your world, what it might do to her. Jackson reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. You protected her. That's what mothers do. But I meant what I said, Ariana. You and Lena are my world now. No more shadows, no more secrets. They sat in silence, fingers entwined, until Lena stirred slightly, her lips parting with a soft sound. Ariana leaned in quickly, brushing a kiss across her forehead. Jackson did the same, his eyes glistening with something deep, something sacred. The following month, they moved into a modest, two-story house on the outskirts of Dallas. A home Jackson had bought under the Mr. Ember alias, hoping someday they'd live there as a family. Ariana decorated Lena's room with fairy lights and stuffed animals, while Loretta settled into the downstairs guest suite, her health improving day by day. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the porch in gold, Ariana rocked gently in a chair, Lena curled beside her, asleep. Jackson stepped outside, a baby monitor in one hand and a small velvet box in the other. She looked up, eyes wide. I know we've been through hell, he said softly, but if you'll let me, I'd like to build the rest of our life together. No secrets, no shadows, just us. Ariana stood, heart in her throat, tears blurring her vision. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. She stepped into his arms, and the world fell away. They had made it through the fire, and now they were home. Life lesson from the story. Ariana and Jackson's journey is a powerful reminder that love is not just a feeling, it's a choice we make over and over, even when it's hard. Life threw every challenge their way: betrayal, fear, illness, and the scars of the past. But what pulled them through wasn't perfection or fairy tale promises. It was courage. The courage to face painful truths, to forgive, to stand up for what mattered most, and to believe that redemption was still possible. Ariana showed us what true strength looks like. The quiet resilience of a mother who never gave up on her daughter, even when the world tried to break her. Jackson taught us that real love requires action, not just words. He walked away from power and privilege to stand beside the woman and child he loved, proving that doing the right thing often means risking everything. Together, they fought for their family, not with grand gestures, but with unwavering commitment. And in the end, their scars became the foundation of something beautiful, a home built on trust, not secrets, on healing, not fear. Let their story be a lesson. Sometimes the path back to love isn't easy, but it's always worth it. We'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss another emotional and inspiring story like this one.